So things are starting to get more interesting with BizGear. So on the operational side, more of the admin type things, I'll start off with those. We can get to the sales because we've got some really good things happening on the sales side of things, also very promising indicators so far. But on the operational side, we continued on with the back orders process, and we've actually got two different people dealing with two different parts of that process, both of whom have been working on their part of the process without really registering the fact that they're both working on the same thing, even though they sit right next to each other in the same office. So I had a chat. So we've got one who's looking at setting up the reporting that tracks the back orders that need to be followed up. And then we've got the other person who enters orders into the system and processes them once they've arrived and come through. And so one's done a procedure for one end of it, the other's done a procedure for the other end of it, but neither of them have spoken to each other about whether or not they've got the right bits in each of their procedures to make sure that the whole process flows properly, which is not unusual, and part of the reason why I do what I do. But it's amusing when these things occur. So they are having an operations meeting tomorrow where for the first time they're going to present the new format for reporting on those back orders. So I've made a suggestion that both of those people are in attendance for that meeting so that they can both have input as to how the process works and make sure that it's going to produce the best outcome for the business. Another interesting conversation I had today was back on that embroidery order form. This order form, we thought it was finalised, but again, one person thought it was formalised from their point of view. Another person who sees things from another perspective relating to the delivery of embroidery orders thinks that there's not enough information there, or that the structure of the information isn't correct. And it's an interesting dynamic because the one who wants to see changes made is an employee, a senior employee. The one who thinks everything's fine is also an employee, but he's also the boss's son. And so inevitably with that becomes a little smidge of a sense of entitlement, and not what you call justified entitlement. So I'm actually going to have to facilitate a brainstorming session next week for this embroidery embroidery order template. So that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to giving you the update from that session. So we'll see what happens. I doubt that it's going to be any big deal, but it's still just that's a little bit of business nerd fun for me. On the sales side of things, the sales meetings, the weekly sales meetings, are improving. The quality of the minutes that I saw from their last meeting from this week's meeting was much better than the previous. However, there's still the missing link with that 90-day action plan sheet hasn't been filled in, and the way that action items are being allocated, they are actually being allocated, which is, good to the client's credit. That's good that they're actually doing it. But the format, the way that they're doing it is not going to work for the long term, because it's too easy for them to miss the follow-up on the action items that are allocated. So I've just reinforced the importance of actually recording those onto the 90-day action sheets. And we've also added an additional column to the 90-day action sheets for outcomes, because if we're putting in this effort and we're putting in these actions each week, obviously we want to see, are we achieving outcomes? We expect we will. The reps are already starting to identify opportunities. They're actually really motivated, and the business owner is really happy with the quality of the work that they're doing. The reps are really, this is the feedback I got from the owner today, their morale is higher, and they've got more direction and focus, and they are feeling more empowered to do their job, because we've given them structure, and that structure's working for them, and their clients are even responding to it well. So things are looking really good for these early stage improvements that we've made to the way that the sales reps operate. There's still a lot more to do in the business, but there's, at some point, there's only so much you can do for the existing client base. So at some point in the not too distant future, we're going to need to get into the marketing and the client acquisition side of things and look at building our processes around that. But just not quite yet. We're getting close to it. The business owner and I discussed a few things from a marketing point of view today. The other thing that's helping is the whiteboard. So the sales are being updated daily, and the reps are in there every day, and they're really starting to pay attention to that tracking whiteboard. And what we're seeing happen is the numbers are starting to improve. At this point for this month, they are slightly ahead of being on track to achieve the month's targets, and which is important because we've raised their targets slightly from what they used to be. But the fact that we're tracking it and bringing that additional accountability, learner in the right hand lane, no need to overtake or do that. That was a little bit weird. So yeah, we're seeing that having the whiteboard is actually also improving the focus, and it's starting to improve the results. So far we're actually seeing we're getting to the point where we're seeing measurable improvements in the sales reps' performance and in the sales, the financial performance of the business. So this is good. That's the whole idea of the game. So starting to see some good things happen there. It's becoming fun for me from just start to see these things happen. There's still a lot more work to do, but very encouraging at this point. And I will update you in the next one.